Greece's prime minister is facing growing opposition from within his left-wing Syriza party to conditions put forward by creditors for a continuation of the country's bailout. Alexis Tsipras will brief parliament later following talks with the EU, the European Central Bank and the IMF. Many of his own MPs are expected to object to Athens making any concessions. Greece has delayed Friday's €300 million, £216 million, debt repayment to the IMF. Instead, all 4 installments scheduled for June will be combined into a single payment at the end of the month. Greek Economy Minister George Stathakis told the BBC that the country's cash-strapped government had the money to make Friday's payment, but chose not to. He said Greece could not accept new austerity measures proposed by international creditors to unlock the final €7.2 billion tranche of the country's bailout. But he said the government would do anything it could to stay in the Eurozone while getting a better deal for Greece. Mr. Tsipras said on Thursday that an agreement with Greece's international creditors was in sight, particularly on the key sticking point of primary surpluses, the amount by which tax revenues exceed public spending. But he said there were points that no one would consider as a base for discussion, citing cuts to pensions and a raise in sales tax for electricity, after meeting the head of the Eurozone's finance ministers, Jeroen Dijsselbloem, and European Commission Chief Jean-Claude Juncker in Brussels. On his return to Athens, Mr. Tsipras told ministers that the government could not accept extreme proposals. Underlining a deep sense of anger towards the offer, Deputy Social Security Minister Dimitris Stratoli, who is close to the far-left faction of the ruling Syriza party, denounced the measures. If the creditors do not back down from this package of blackmail, the government will have to seek alternative solutions, elections, he told Antenna TV. However, Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis said on Thursday he saw no reason whatsoever for Greece to go to snap elections, according to Reuters. Prime Minister Tsipras, who spoke by phone on Thursday night with German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President François Hollande, will address the Greek parliament later on Friday. He needs to decide soon whether to agree a deal with the creditors. Failure to do so could trigger a Greek default and a potential exit from the Eurozone. The government must now pay a total of €1.5 billion back to the IMF on June 30, which is also the day on which its bailout deal with the EU and IMF runs out. However, the total this month Greece actually needs to pay in terms of bills is €6.7 billion. The rest, €5.2 billion, is short-term treasury bills. Correspondence says the €300 million payment would have been difficult for the Greek government, however the decision to delay it may have been a negotiating tactic intended to put pressure on the IMF and the EU in negotiations over the bailout. The last country to bundle together payments to the IMF was Zambia in the mid-1980s.